Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to attempt another endurance flight, but this time I'm going to be using the Hubsan barebone parts. We've got the Hubsan X4, that's actually the H107D controller here. I'm using the Picnic Quads efficiency frame and then some very cheap £3.70 motors off eBay. Now some of you may have seen my Flying 3D X6 endurance flight. This is similar to that really, except I'm going to be using one of these micro quads. Now everyone knows these micro quads, the best that you can get out of them is 5 to 6 minutes at best. And so I've seen this battery on Banggood. It's actually used for the Walkera hexacopter. It's the biggest one cell battery that I have seen. It is 1600 milliamps, and that is at 3.7 volts. Now it actually does look like a 2-cell. I'm not quite sure what they've done here, because there are definitely 2 cells, but somehow they've configured it to just output 3.7 volts. So this can go into a single charger. There's no need for balancing. So I was going to see what kind of flight time we're going to get out of it. Now, I'm not expecting much control out of it. This is quite heavy. This weighs 43 grams, and this weighs 30 grams, or 29 grams, thereabouts. So this weighs a little bit more than a Mobius. However, the difference between this and the Mobius is, of course, it's all energy, so the weight is actually useful, unlike using a Mobius where it's sort of dead weight in order to get some camera footage. So I've got no camera footage on this, and yeah, it's all just going to be a flight to see how long we can get the battery going. I'm going to time it on my phone like I did before, so the first thing I want to do is make sure that I'm going to secure this tightly, because it's quite heavy. I don't want it to move around. I've got a big hefty elastic band there. Also want to make sure that it's sort of in the middle for the weight as well. I'm using the Ladybird props. They're not really efficient propellers at all, but they're quite stable. This is my first go of it. I mean, I might not even get a decent flight time. I've seen other people using like the 6mm and 7mm motors with like a 700 milliamp battery and getting 14 minutes. So I'm not sure we're going to get that long with this, but I'm going to try anyway and see what we get. So it's not going to make for a very entertaining video, but really it's just to see what we can manage to get out of this battery. So I'm going to let it bind. It's not trimmed. I've not tried to fly it at all or anything like that. I'm just going to start the stopwatch and see if I can fly it. It seems quite stable actually. Just need to trim it a bit. Needs quite a bit of forward trim. Yeah, that's really quite nice. I'm surprised actually. I'm not sure I want to put any more weight on this. But yeah, so far impressed. I'm not sure what flight time we're going to get out of it. Of course, the more weight that you add with the battery, the more it's got to carry. So the less flight time that it's going to get. I want to see if I can get it into a fairly stable hover so that I'm not having to do many corrections, and therefore I am going for endurance here. So the more corrections I have to do, the sort of more the motors have to adjust and maybe use more power, who knows. But it's going really steady at the moment. The throttle, however, I'm on about 70% throttle. Yeah, but I really like these props. Not for lifting. I reckon actually if you put the rolling spider props on, you get quite a bit of lift. I mean, there's plenty of lift there actually with this, and nice and stable. I could do other experiments, maybe trying to add a very lightweight FPV system, but we first of all need to see if we're going to get any kind of decent flight times. I might not even get that. We may only get 3 minutes flight. In that case, it wouldn't make a very good video. What I do like about this battery is it comes with a JST connector. I mean, I don't own the Walkera hexacopter, so I'm not sure what the connections are, but the JST connector is very handy for my charger. And, you know, who knows, might be able to tap into that second output. You know, maybe plug it into an FPV system or something, I don't know. It's just an experiment at this stage. I'm trying to keep it trimmed, but it's moving about quite a bit. I think it's perhaps the weight shifting from the front to the back. But it's not doing bad. I've got other micro quad setups that don't hover this well, but it's probably all the weight keeping it nice and stable. One thing that I did plan to do is I've got the Hex version of this. I thought this battery might go well with the Hex, using the X6, that's the Ichin X6, that's the tiny hexacopter. I'm only getting about 4 minutes flight out of that, and so I thought, and that's using a 500 milliamp battery, so I think the Hex should be able to pull the extra weight with the extra motors, so we'll have to do an experiment with that. But still flying really nice. Of course, I'm not flying it sort of full tilt, I'm just hovering here. I'm going to hover it over to the stopwatch, which we're only at the 4 minute mark. It's going to be a long video. So far impressed with this combination. So yeah, for me, I mean, you know, when it comes to flight times and quads and stuff, you know, I think the sweet spot for me is 10 minutes. I did that video of the X6 flying for 17 minutes, and I just wanted to show that it could do it, really. I don't think I'd ever want to fly it for 17 minutes. 10 minutes and I've had enough, and quite frankly, hovering this around now, we're on the 4 minute mark, and I've had enough, but that's because I'm just hovering. I think it'd be quite nice if we could have a tiny FPV quad like this that could fly for 10 minutes. Now that'd be nice, wouldn't it? I think the latest Proto X FPV model that they've released flies for about 6 minutes, which isn't too bad. But to have a quad fly like this size for 10 minutes would be quite nice, wouldn't it? So these are the 8.5mm motors on this, the same as the H107D. So apart from having the camera missing, it's the same setup as the H107D, the same board. I'm using the Spyhawk transmitter here, it's my go-to transmitter. The battery took 1 hour and 17 minutes to charge, which I didn't think was too bad for its size. It is flying so stable here. I'm not having to put hardly any input in at all. We've still got plenty of power. Coming up to the 6 minute mark. Look at that, it's just flying really stable actually, like a normal quad. I thought it'd be a bit more unstable than that, carrying the extra weight, but it's not, it's really quite nice. It's a little bit slower on the yaw. Now, I need to behave, because I'm going for endurance here. I'd love to see other people's videos, see if they've managed to get longer flight times. I did watch a video on YouTube of someone who'd managed to get a quadcopter to fly for an hour. I think that's a bit excessive, and he didn't really fly it, he just did what I did. In fact, his quad had a GPS hold on there, and he just filled it full of batteries and managed to get it to fly for an hour. I mean, there's no fun in that, is there really? I mean, there's no fun in this at all. What would be fun is to see if I could get some kind of FPV setup, or even see if it'll fly outside like this. And then, you know, then we can really test to see if this battery is worth using for these mini quads. At the moment, I have to say I'm impressed. We're on 7 minutes 38 at the moment. The flight is really smooth. It would be really good for a camera, this sort of thing. It's whether it would take the extra weight. So I think my math isn't very good. So the quad is 30 grams. I think it's 29 grams actually, and the battery is 43 grams. So I think we're talking about 70 grams there, which it's heavy for these motors, that is. You know, my heaviest FPV quad, I think, is about 62 grams, and that's kind of pushing it, you know. So this is definitely pushing it when it comes to the weight, and we're still yet to see whether it's paying off with this battery. So far though, 8 minutes, it's better than the 3 minutes that I thought I might get. I once made a quad once, and it turned out to be about, the flying weight in total turned out to be about, well, close to 70 grams, using a 750 milliamp battery, and the flight time was about 3.5 minutes, which is just rubbish, isn't it? It's not enough. I found myself with that sort of quad trying to sort of rush the flight, really, to get any kind of joy out of it. Really, you know, trying to connect the battery as quick as possible. You know, even thinking that the LEDs are gonna flatten the battery if you're not careful. You know, I haven't actually put any LEDs on this, I should say. That's sort of the one. It is a bare bones setup. The only LEDs that you can see are the 2 LEDs at the front there, and those are built into the board. One thing that I found is really important in getting good flight time out of these quads is the balance. It's so important to get the center of gravity in the middle. I mean, if we, you know, in a perfect world, we'd have the battery dead center so that it wasn't even hanging below, so it was right in the center, so that the motors aren't having to do extra work and corrections. Right, we've just come up to 10 minutes there, so I mean that's the longest flight I've ever had with this size quad. These Ladybird props are really quiet, actually. I really like them, and they don't give loads of thrust. I don't think they would lift much more weight than this. I can certainly try, but certainly the most stable props here on this particular quad that I've built. Kinda getting bored now. I do love the possibilities that these micro quads have sort of opened up for us, though. I mean, you think 15 years ago, something like this you would pay a fortune for, you know, and now this is what I don't understand about these micro quads. They're sort of not advertised as toys, but seen as toys, and they're cheaper than the full-size quads, which, to me, if you think about mobile phones and technology like that, usually the smaller something is, the more expensive it is, but that's not the case with these quads. I mean, you take the Hubsan Nano or the Proto X Nano or whatever, I mean, they're so cheap, you can get them for about £25, £26, you know. I just think that's amazing for the technology that just goes into this. You know, and I'm not going to complain, you know. I mean, the cheaper the better, you know, and that's what's so great about these tiny quads. is when you think about it. So the frame, I think, is I'm gonna have to convert. So the frame is $9. That's what, like £6 or something. The controller board I got for £8 from Banggood. The motors, there's the chap on eBay, I get them for £3.70, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then this battery, I can't even remember the price of the battery, but I got it from Banggood, probably talking 10 quid, maybe even less than that. So such a low price for, you know, for so much fun, really. What are we at now? We're at 12 minutes. Like I say, I think I saw a chap fly one for, for 14 minutes using like a 700 milliamp battery. And that was on this smaller 7-inch or 6-inch motor. Sorry, the very first version of the Hubsan X4. Someone will correct me. I think it did have 6-inch motors or something like that. But these are the 8, so they're the biggest motors. So they're going to be drawing the most amount of juice. So perhaps we won't get as long a flight time as that. Certainly, this is the longest flight I've ever seen with these motors. Coming up to 13 minutes. That's got to be pushing it. We've still got full control though. Yeah, 13 minutes. I'm really looking forward to the Hubsan H109 that boasts a 40-minute flight. Now, I'm not sure how they managed that. I think that's probably going to be more like a 30-minute flight, but still 30 minutes is quite nice, isn't it? It's all down to the efficiency of the quad, you know, the choosing the right battery, the right motors, just the right center of gravity, everything. I remember flying a quad and with the same setup, but because of these micro quads you can shift the weight around. Like I was getting an extra 3 minutes flight just having everything, the center of gravity more central. It really does affect the flight time. Also the props as well. Now the Hubsan props, the X4 props, are extremely efficient. I've had the longest flight times out of them. Unfortunately, on these custom builds, they're not the most stable at all. In fact, sometimes they're uncontrollable. I mean, look how stable this thing is with the Ladybird props. I don't know what it is about the Hubsan propellers at all, but they only really like to be used in the Hubsan configuration, I found. Or maybe it's just because I'm using the Hubsan controller boards on these slightly bigger quads with slightly different weights. I really don't know. I can't seem to get the sweet setup there with the Hubsan controller and the Hubsan props on these frames. So, but these Ladybird props doing me proud here. We have just come up to 15 minutes. It's quite incredible, really. I think you know, I've been quite interested in these micro quads at the moment. You know, the ZMR 250 size quads and the blackout quads. And when you look, they look a huge amount of fun, but then you find out that people are only getting 5 minutes flight time tops. Now that is probably enough, maybe for those types of quads. They are really fast flying quads, and you know, they don't have auto level on. Certainly I don't think people are using auto level anyway. So maybe 5 minutes is enough for those, but for me, you know, 5 minutes is what you're getting out of these kind of toy grade quads, you know. And you know, you really have to, there we go, we've got LVC at 16 minutes, just coming up to 16 minutes. I might see if we can carry on flying, but that's not bad at all. Yeah, we're losing power there, so no, we're still climbing. Don't want to go in too much into the LVC flying this, yeah, but still climbing. Yeah, I don't want to go too much into the LVC on this quad because don't want to ruin the battery. Seems so far the tests have been pretty good. I might try some different props and see if we can get a even longer flight time than this. Let's see if we can hover near the phone, the stopwatch. We're just coming up to 17 minutes. We're still flying, look. Okay, I'm gonna land now. We got 17 minutes. There we go. I have matched the X6's time. Alright, I let the LVC go for a minute, but it still flew. So there we go. It is possible to get a 17-minute flight out of a Hubsan X4 microquad. I might try some different props and do it again, but cheers for watching, and thanks for subscribing.